how did the universe, the material universe, come into existence, our best physics tells us that matter, space, time, and energy all originated a finite time ago, before which, or to be more precise, since we don't yet have time, independent of which there was no matter to do the causing. So materialism as a worldview, as a system of thought, has come up against a number of very profound questions. In your country, there's a very prominent young physicist, Luke Barnes, who's written a book with his Cambridge PhD, former Cambridge PhD supervisor. He's now a professor at Western Sydney, called "The Fortunate Universe," that is looking at the evidence of the fine tuning of the physical parameters of the universe, and suggesting that most logically, the fine tuning of those parameters suggests a fine tuner. We have all of these, the basic parameters of physics turn out to fall within very narrow ranges or tolerances, outside of which not only life, but even basic chemistry would be impossible. And the question is, how did these different parameters find one after another, find those sweet spots that make life possible? And many physicists, including Sir Fred Hoyle, who was one of the first scientists who discovered these parameters, have come to the conclusion that the fine tuning is pointing to a transcendent intelligence that is responsible for the life friendly structure of the universe as a whole. So there's I think a fairly significant revolution in thought taking place. There's been a shift even in the last 20 years in my involvement in this work. There was a lot of the type of rhetoric that you find on Wikipedia, where people would simply dismiss the idea out of hand. People would appeal to authority. They appeal to a consensus that may or may not have existed. And now I think you find people taking these arguments very seriously, not only in biology, but also in physics and in cosmology. In my last book, I was fortunate to have endorsements from 7 professors who held named professorships in different fields of science, a Nobel laureate. It's by no means an idea that's confined to parochial sort of backwoods of the American Appalachia or something, as it's often portrayed. People, white-shoed Bible thumpers, are the only people thinking about this. It's very serious scientists and philosophers are considering these arguments. And I'd even go back a bit and look at someone like James Clerk Maxwell, who was, along with Newton and Einstein, in fact, all 3 of those great physicists believed that there was a mind behind the universe. Einstein's way of formulating it was not traditionally religious. Newton and Maxwell were both devout Christians. Maxwell said that the conclusion of design follows inexorably from the application of the laws of thought to the observations of the world around us. In other words, there are features that we see in nature which we know, one of the key laws of thought, only arise from a particular kind of cause, an intelligent cause, and therefore we can infer back to a designing agent. So you had really prominent scientists have affirmed this design argument from the period of the scientific revolution forward, and even going back further into scientific and philosophical history. So this is a perennial idea. It's been a perennial argument in the West. Did mind come first, or was it brute matter? These were the 2 great systems of thought that you found in the ancient Greeks. So what we're doing is we're reviving the case for the mind first view of reality based on fundamental discoveries that have been made in physics, in cosmology, in biology over the last 100 years.